And now continuing our series looking into the donors and fundraising of Democratic primary contenders. I think this is our 10th or 11th installment. You can of course go back and look at the rest on YouTube to figure out more about them. We turn now to Steve Bullock, and we are joined by Dave Leventhal. Once again, Dave, welcome back to the show.
Hey, great to be with you.
Great to have you here. So Steve Bullock is not a candidate that I think a lot of the people watching this are gonna be too familiar with unless they happen to live in his state. So before we get into the nitty gritty, who is Steve Bullock?
He's not even the most famous Bullock in the country now. I mean, Sam Bullock, Jim J. Bullock, the guy from Hollywood Squares back in the day. So making jokes about, well, who is this guy? Why is he even bothering to run at this point when we already have almost 24 candidates on the Democratic side? Well, you know, he's somebody who has actually been a governor in Montana who's done something that a lot of politicians who are Democrats have not been able to do, and that's garner a decent amount of Republican support. Montana is a red state. He is a blue governor, and he's made it work in a way that has gotten him a requisite amount of support. So he's somebody who I think you can fairly describe as more of a centrist, or at least a centrist by Democratic standards these days. He's somebody who's been very, very outspoken and very much on the vanguard against dark money in politics, secret money in politics, but at the same time has appealed to farmers and ranchers and business people. He's got an interesting political acumen and is definitely not of the, Bernie Sanders wing of the Democratic Party as we know it.
Okay, interesting. And I do want to return to his fight against dark money in just a little bit. But some of the standard things that we go through to get a baseline idea of this guy and how he's going to fund his campaign. So first off, personal wealth and money that he's fundraised in the past, like his war chest. How does he compare?
So on the political money front, he's done a relatively good job. Montana, of course, as you alluded to, is not a big state. It's not like he's been running for governor of Florida or California or Texas. So as a result, he hasn't put up a huge dollar figures that you would need if you were running with a state of population in the 8 figures as opposed to one of the smaller populations among U.S. states. That being said, when he is run at the state level, he's raised into the millions of dollars. He was also, too, notably the head of the Democratic Governors Association, and by virtue of that position where he goes and basically raises a whole heck of a lot of money to support governors all across the country, he had a relatively successful run there too. So he's not somebody who's some fly-by-night fundraiser. He's got a strong resume when it comes to being able to raise money. Whether that translates in this Democratic presidential field remains to be seen, although he said right out of the gate that he raised more than $1 million in his first day, and is somebody who can compete with the rest of the candidates out there. That's something that is almost a de rigueur to be able to at least have enough financial support out there to have a shot at, for example, making the Democratic debates this summer, which has a fundraising component to it.
Well, and that's interesting. So first of all, I would not have predicted that he would have passed $1 million in that initial period. So that is interesting information. I saw recently that I believe Inslee is like 5,000 donors down from making it on the debate stage. A number have crossed that threshold in the past few weeks or the past month. And I'm curious, the people who are entering the race a little bit later, who don't necessarily have as much name recognition across the country, and that their state doesn't have the population to match up to some of these others. How is it looking in terms of his ability to generate enough individual donors to make it onto that stage?
So getting onto the stage, it requires sort of a two-pronged test here. And if you get 65,000 individual donors, you get on the debate stage, providing you're within the top 20. And now we have more than 20 candidates, so there are going to be tiebreakers here potentially. So that does complicate it just straight up. But the other aspect of this is you can also qualify for the debate stage by getting 1% of the vote, or 1% in polls across a number of different polls. So if 1% of people who are polled support you, whether you're Steve Bullock or Bill de Blasio or any of the other candidates who come in lately, then you too will also qualify for the debate stage. But as I mentioned, the debate stage, which is already insanely crowded, it can only have 20 people on it, at least as the Democratic National Committee has it set up right now for those first initial debate. So there could be some combination of both the amount of money you've raised and your polling numbers if you're really on the margins and you're sort of in that Wayne Messam or Marianne Williamson realm where you might kind of be on the fringe right there of qualifying. You've made one, but not the other, and it's going to have to go to that tiebreaker.
Hey, Dave, yeah, this is something you touched on earlier, and I think it's kind of on the same subject here. I think a lot of people want to know, why are these people running? So many politicians without a huge name recognition are jumping into this already packed race. And I wonder if you get a vibe, is it because they all really feel like they can win this presidential race? Is it just trying to up their name recognition for the future? What do you see?
You've hit on a couple of things. There can only be one nominee. Okay, we can't have 7 nominees here, especially as we're, the day after Game of Thrones ended and whatnot. There can only be one king of the Democratic Party. But
point for you.
That is that's something that may not really necessarily be a motivating factor for some of these candidates. You can't get in all of their brains to understand truly what their motivation is. But if you're a Eric Swalwell or a Tim Ryan or some of the others who probably have less of a chance than a Joe Biden or a Bernie Sanders, there's still a whole lot of ancillary benefits to running for president. You may have a whole lot of policy issues that you want to get on a national platform. Running for president is a really good way to do it. You may have political aspirations of other sorts. I mean, look at all the people who ran for president 2, 3, even 4 times. Joe Biden, this is his 3rd presidential go-around. He's finally the front runner after flaming out in 1988 and flaming out in 2008. He got the, sort of the ultimate 2nd place prize and being vice president to Barack Obama in 2008. So candidates obviously know their history and they see other benefits that come about as a result of running for president, even if it's largely going to be a super ultra long shot effort on their part.
And perhaps particularly on his part. But thank you for breaking down some of what's going to go into his run. If people would like more information, including his efforts to fight against dark money, you can go to publicintegrity.org and read the write-up there. Dave, as always, thank you for joining us.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from The Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.